We'll call the Town of Rome budget hearing and Town of Rome special town meeting to order on Thursday, November 2nd at 6 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3, certify the posting of the meeting.
I certify that on Monday, October 16, 2023, the agenda for the Town of Rome budget hearing and town meeting for Thursday, November 2nd was posted at the Rome Town Hall at 8:35 a.m., posted at Scripture LLC at 8:45 a.m., posted at Increase Report at the State Bank at 8:50 a.m., and published in the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune on October 18th and October 25th, 2023.
And we'll have our town administrator do the presentation of the 2024 budget. Thank you. So welcome and good evening to everyone. My name is Jamie Gabert. I'm the administrator for the Town of Rome. And tonight is the annual budget hearing and town meeting. This is my 6th and final budget presentation and town meeting with the town. I am actually going to be transitioning to be the administrator in the village of Weston in about 2 weeks. So I really appreciate you being here for my last presentation, and I'm only going to keep you for about 2.5 to 3 hours because it's my goodbye speech. Yes, no, I won't, I promise. I'm just kidding. I do always like to just share our first slide with just a budget in brief about the items that we'll be covering as part of the presentation tonight. There were handouts in the back. We should have had plenty of copies for everyone. This information is also located on the town's website, both this presentation and all of the previous 6 years of presentations just as reference. And I would just ask tonight if we can save questions till the end. That's appreciated because maybe your question would be answered during the presentation. Following the presentation, we will have the town meeting and the vote on the actual levy for the town. So if you've joined me for a previous budget hearing in the past, you'll know that I like to start with some recaps of major projects that we've done in the past year. And I don't plan to go through these slides in detail. I really just include them as part of the presentation because it's important to celebrate your accomplishments and also just to see the achievements of the town for the past year. But also it's just helpful for us as we look back at the years to see what big projects happened each year. So some of the projects we'll also be discussing under themes and focus areas because they are part of next year's budget too. But one big item I want to mention, one big project that we just recently completed was our first public art mural on the side of the Public Works building. So just as a reminder, this is the before picture. We had artist Kiba Freeman design and complete the mural in conjunction with the Community Development Authority, the Plan Commission, and Town Board. And this was the final result. And I just want to point out when I was going through and took the pictures, there's snow in this picture, and there's snow in this picture. So the mural was done in the 48 hours of no rain or snow in the town. So getting on to the numbers of the budget while we're here tonight. And I do just want to share, because of our interim market update reevaluation, we do have one number that's slightly delayed, but it doesn't change the levy amount that we would be looking for tonight. And we can talk a little bit more about that as we go through the slides. But first, total budget. I do have this year's and the 3 previous years just for reference. The total budget this year for next year, for 2024 for the town would be $10,938,224, and the levy amount being requested would be $3,779,699. And again, the previous 3 years are there. So just doing that as an overview of our values. First, our 2023 assessed value is there at the top of the screen. I do have an asterisk there because we're still waiting for our manufacturing value to be merged with that. Our manufacturing value is a smaller percentage. Most of our class here is residential, but we do have some manufacturing. That's added by the Department of Revenue, and we're just waiting for that merged number to come back. So that number will be slightly higher. But when we talk about the mill rate, it would only go down from there, it wouldn't go up. So that number might be slightly changed, and we can update that number on the presentation once received. Because we had the interim market reevaluation and we were a little bit later in that assessed values, that's just why that number is slightly delayed. But again, it doesn't change the levy amount. The equalized value is next on the slide, and that's important for determining our TID increment, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then our net new growth is on the bottom, and we had 4.89% net new growth. And that's important for our allowable levy. Why that's important is our levy increase reflects that 4.89 net new growth, and since 2006, levy increases are capped at either 0% or net new growth for municipalities. And that equated, that 4.89% equated to $149,000 for us, which is spread across the entire assessed value of the town. So the most we could raise levy would be $149,000. So just a little bit more about our tourism TID. Our TID is 3,614 acres. We are unique in the fact that our TID encompasses all one owner in Wisconsin Dunes and is part of the Sand Valley Resort Development. You can see its current value there is slightly over $82 million. And our equalized TID value is important in determining what the increment will be that will be paid next year. It's about $1.2 million on the slide, and that is placed against our loan of principal and interest for the district. When that district was taken, we completed 2 loans, one for Archer Avenue and one for the development, and the increment goes against those 2 loans. What's really most important that I want to cover on this slide is just that our TID is tremendously healthy. We just had our joint review board meeting this week, and Ellers discussed with us that our TID will close early. It will, at this moment, it's 2030. Those years do adjust as annual growth occurs. It was slightly earlier last year than this year, but it's tremendously healthy and on better than scheduled to close before its termination date, which would have been 2032. So how does this relate to our mill rate? And what does that all mean for 2024? Again, this evening the town board would be requesting a town levy of $3,779,699, and that would equal a reduced mill rate of $2.8516 per 1,000. It's hard to do a comparison this year to last year because of the increased assessed value, but we were about $5.33 for a mill rate. That would show that significant decrease. I do have on this slide, I always like to remind everybody that your tax bill is 5 parts, sometimes 6 in the town of Rome. So it's the school district, the state, the county, the technical school, the town, and then sometimes if you're in the Tri-Lakes district, that's that 6th part. And the graph that I have up here does show the percentage of the overall tax bill of what each of those are. So the majority of the tax bill is the school district and the state and county. You can see the town portion on the top, the tech school, and then if you do have that Tri-Lakes charge, that's that smaller sliver that's purple there. So because of our interim market reevaluation and the assessed value increase, the tax rate decreased significantly. Here's also just an historic representation of the total taxes and tax rate. Again, representing that decrease, you can see 533 last year to 2.8516. When our manufacturing numbers are merged in, that might even go down again slightly, not because we have a smaller percentage of our overall class in manufacturing. I wouldn't say that's a significant amount, but still might go down slightly. So how does the mill rate relate to our revenues and expenditures? This is just a graphical view of our revenues, and it does show our percentage of tax levy being 35% for 2024. It was 44% last year. But the item I just want to point out is this other financing options in the light blue at the top. That's a loan, a borrow that the town is planning for next year for some major road construction projects, and we'll go over what those will be just in a little bit. But just that other financing option, that 20% would be a borrow for next year for road improvement. Just showing it then in the expenditures, again noting public works, and that 33% on the bottom is where that borrow would go to complete that road construction. And then I always like to give the 23 to 24, last year to this year, comparison. Here's our revenues. You can see we're pretty consistent in all the revenues, but that other financing option, because we're planning for that borrow next year, shows that big increase. We did borrow for Apache this year, that work that was done on Apache from State Highway 13 to County Road Z. That wasn't planned as part of the budget. We did that because we wanted to get that road work done, and it happened after budget approval. So that's not reflected here, but you'll see it in the loan chart. But we are planning for that borrow next year, so that's why you have the larger graph there at the top, or the more of the disparity on number there. And then under expenditure, again, you can see we're pretty consistent across the board, except for in Public Works, where we're planning for that borrow to occur. I always like to include a slide about the Rome Water Utility, and just remind that there is no levy in the Rome Water Utility. They're 60% funded through their residential and commercial sales, which is the large green portion on this graph. But this is just the layout of their $1.1 million budget, both in revenues and expenditures. So with the numbers overview and the revenues and expenditures detailed, how do we all tie that together with our themes and focus areas? And again, I'm not planning to go through all of these slides in detail. I always like to put this together in the budget and brief document. Again, it's just a reference point and something to go back to. We're just going to cover some big items for next year. So first, under general government, the budget does reflect an increase in state shared revenue. The chairwoman and I were very fortunate. We got to go to the signing of the increase in state shared revenue that the governor signed in Wausau. It was very exciting for us to be invited. And what that means for the town of Rome is our state shared revenue went from $39,000 to $122,000. You're going to see that reflected in general government and in public safety. We did put some of that state shared revenue into the fire department budget for the last of a 3-year capital replacement of their self-contained breathing apparatuses. So you're going to see state shared revenue in both of those budgets. The other item general government includes is half of a new full-time position for an administrative assistant support specialist. That support specialist would be assisting with general government items and with zoning items. So you'll see the other half of that new position within the zoning budget. And just under future considerations, the town is in the process now of completing a human resources audit. We're finalizing a court plan update and also working on an update to our strategic plan. And as I mentioned, I'll be transitioning as the administrator. So I am sure that will all equal some different priorities, and I'm sure those will be reflected in future budgets, but just keeping an eye on those are programs and plans that the town is working on that might have different focuses, or maybe same focuses, but moving additional funds into those focuses once those plans are done. Under public safety, the budget includes 2 squad replacements for the police department. I already mentioned the self-contained breathing apparatuses, and also a new fire suppression UTV for the fire department. We are also entering the 3rd of our 3-year agreement with Lifestart Emergency Medical Services, and that agreement would then be under a negotiation with our Big Flats Monroe Rome EMS district. So that commission will be working through what that renewal of that contract will be. We do split that cost with Big Flats and Monroe, and there was an increase in the budget this year for that service. So then under Public Works and Health and Human Services, we do continue, as I mentioned before, with that borrow being an aggressive on investments in road maintenance and repair. The borrow would encompass a pulverize and pave for Akron Avenue from County Trunk Z to State Highway 13, on Rapids Trail from 15th Avenue to Blue Waters Trail, and Archer Avenue from 15th to County Road Z. Those projects would be planned for next year, in addition to a culvert replacement on Apache between 10th Avenue and State Highway 13, and then a pulverize and replace the next year. So that would equate to that $2.1 million that would be planned for borrowing, which we've worked with Ellers. The town is able to put that into our overall borrowing schedule. So it doesn't hinder our current borrowing schedule and could be able to be planned in. Under culture, recreation, and education, this would include our library, park, and community donations budgets. And the budget does maintain our incremental increase into capital improvements at the library to keep that building strong and improved. It's a lovely building. And it also reflects a development grant for 160 acres that we own at Derrick Hughes Recreational Area. That grant would be through the Wisconsin DNR. I always like to mention that there is no levy in Derrick Hughes Recreational Area. It is funded through our user fees and through grants that we get through the state. There is levy in the parks budget, but that levy is not in the Derrick Hughes budget. And I already mentioned that the town will be completing our comprehensive outdoor rec plan. We've already gone through a community survey and a public engagement session, and so we should be getting the first draft in the first quarter of next year, if not sooner. So under conservation and development, the budget does contain a hybrid staffing model of our building inspector as contracted services to help us with building permits and minor zoning. And then, as I mentioned, it's the other half of that full-time administrative assistant support specialist position that will help with zoning items, plan commission agendas, correspondence at the front counter and at the zoning counter. The budget also reflects the addition of zoning hub services. We did utilize some of our American Rescue Plan Act funds, our ARPA funds, to enter into an agreement with Civitech, both for zoning hub services and for a zoning code audit. And what that will be is it's an online service. It's a view of our zoning map where you can easily click and see what the zoning is for the property that either you own or you might be looking to purchase. And then it would tell you what the regulations are for that property and help assist you on how to get to plan commission if you needed a zoning change or a conditional use permit or a site plan of operation. It would just be a much more electronic format to feed that information into the committee. And the zoning hub process is probably 85% done. We would hope that would go live before the first of the year. And then zoning code audit would happen shortly after the start of the year. The budget also reflects out of our 30% tourism funds. Again, the town collects 8% room tax on all tourism stays. That room tax then, that 8% is divided 70-30. 70% goes to Visit Rome, our destination marketing organization, and 30% stays at the town and is discretionary for town use. And I do have the budgeted numbers of what that 70-30 split would be for next year on the slide. But the town would increase. We've done $30,000 in the past towards parks and recreation projects. Next year, we would increase that to $50,000, and the board also set aside $229,000 for the remodeling of this room and the kitchen. We had set aside some funds in the past for this room, but just with inflationary costs and the demand for contractors, we needed to budget more. So the town board said, let's reevaluate that, and it would come out of the tourism 30%. Our sound system in here and technology certainly could be improved for better usage, right? So that is planned in the budget for next year. Then under capital outlays, all of the asterisks, the items on the previous slides are included under capital outlay. And I then just would mention that the town still would have to allocate its remaining balance of our American Rescue Plan Act funds, ARPA funds, and we've got about $6,400 left there. Those need to be allocated by the end of '24, but not spent until the end of 2026. So then I always like to include a slide about our debt service. These are the outstanding loans that the town has. You'll see here on the bottom is the GO note that we took for Apache Avenue. The amount here on the loan, we actually received more. The individual that purchased that loan paid a premium, and that premium then next year will be used to pay the interest for that loan. So there isn't a cost to the town on the levy or in our debt service for that project next year because they paid that premium for the loan, which will be used to pay the interest on it next year. And actually a very small portion of the interest in 2025. So it was a good premium. Our audited general fund balance, the town's fiscal policy states at minimum an unassigned fund balance of no less than 17% of the current year's approved budget. The town is doing noticeably better than that on our general fund balance. I would mention that is likely because our room tax has increased through the years, and at the end of the year that would come back to the general fund. But this year, the town invested some of that 30% discretionary room tax into the expansion of the water main within Rome Town Center for potential development that would occur in Rome Town Center. And next year, as I've mentioned, an increase in that parks and for the remodeling in this room and in the kitchen. And then if you've been to one of my presentations, you know this is my favorite slide. I love this slide. Where do your town of Rome property tax dollars go, right? So a median assessed value home in the town, according to the US Census, is $236,000, slightly over the $236,000. And with the mill rate, the 2.8516, that would equate to an annual town of Rome tax bill of $674. Again, we're talking about the town of Rome portion of that tax bill. And then a monthly cost of $56.25. And so for that monthly cost, if you divide it down on the levy allocations within the budget, under public safety, 8 full-time police officers, full-time fire chief, fire staff, advanced life support ambulance for $27.47 a month. Library, 2 full-time staff, a wide variety of programs and services, all provided free. All provided free, $4.56. Public Works, highway maintenance, road improvements, snow plowing, transfer site, $16.30. And parks, and I'm not mentioning all of them, I'm just hitting highlights, but parks, splash pad, and all of the parks amenities, 53 cents a month. So my cell phone bill is more than the $56.25. If anyone's is less than that, let me know. No. So, with that, I will open it up to questions, but I do just want to introduce our staff that's here tonight, and maybe I'm just going to have them stand. Usually I have them wave, but if we can just stand and stay standing until everyone's introduced. Melissa Rhodes, Chief Mark Kane, Chief Jason Lobby, Library Director Nicole Menzel, and Director Martinson, Public Works Director Brad Martinson. And I sometimes forget, but I'm remembering tonight because it's the last one. Not a town employee contract, but our town attorney, Nick Flanagan. I would do a big round of applause for our department heads. We also have some, Fran is here from our town staff. Is anyone else here from our town staff? Wendy. And Wendy, sorry Wendy. Wendy in the back. I saved the best for last. Best for last. So that I would just say thank you. It's been an honor to serve the town of Rome for these past years. It's been a privilege to live here, and
Stop it.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Chair, if you wanted to open it up for questions?
Yes, does anybody have questions for the town administrator? Or any questions on the budget?
Yes.
Okay, I have a question on 2023 versus 2024 revenues. And I didn't bring my glasses, and this is so tiny, but last year was 0. And this year, other financing options are 2.173. Where did the 2.173 come when we only took a loan out for 1.355 for Apache? Where did the extra million come from?
So the 2.1 would be for next year. That would, so we would do that borrow after the first of the year. That would be a planned borrow for next year. And there wasn't, the borrow for Apache was completed this year. That wasn't part of the budget. That was completed afterwards. So that's why last year's 0 and next year's the 2.1.
What is the 2.173 million for?
The 2.1 was for those 4 road projects that I talked about. Akron, Apache, the other side of Apache, Archer, and Rapids. It would be for those 4 road projects. But again, then Apache, we have a lot of A's. Apache would be, the culvert would be next year, and the paving would be the year after 2025.
Okay, so that's an additional loan we're taking out in addition to the 1.3 mil we took out this year.
That would be a loan for next year, yep.
Um,
But again, we did work with Ellers to make sure we could fit that into our overall financing plan, our overall borrow.
Okay, I have another question on the mural. Is that 100% paid for already by grants and donations?
It is not 100% paid for by grants and donations, but we have several donations and some grants that we received. I know that Supervisor Cole wants to just say a thank you to those individuals, but it's not 100% of the cost yet.
Exactly how much has actually been paid on the 35,000?
22,400.
How much?
22,400.
Okay,
And total cost of the mural was 35,000.
right.
Yes.
For the capital outlay for police and fire, what would be the residual estimate of those vehicles at sale? And has that been considered in the budget?
We do property sales, yes, we do budget for property sales. I would say for our squads, someplace between $4,000 to $6,000. When we surplus a squad, it has well over 100,000 miles on. They're used daily, they're run daily, which is why we keep a pretty aggressive replacement schedule on them so they stay in good health. Chief Labby can correct me if he feels differently, but someplace usually between 4 and 6. During the years of COVID, we did very good on the resales of them, but that's usually, and we do plan that into revenues of the budget.
Jamie, can you share why we're getting 2 this year if we're behind schedule? Is that correct?
We are behind schedule because of COVID. It was very difficult to get vehicles. I mean, I think most people experienced that even in their personal lives. It was difficult to get vehicles. And we've got a series of 2017s in the fleet that need to get cycled out.
We still don't know if we'll get the vehicles. A lot of
Yeah.
these squad car orders are being canceled when they're put in, so we don't know that we'll be able to get what we're gonna request 2. Hopefully we'll get them, but a lot of orders are being canceled.
Yes.
On the total assessed value that was originally published, I know that we had the board of review then, and my understanding is a lot of those assessed values actually were reduced. What was the total amount that the assessed value came down?
I would have to do a calculation on, but prior to board of review, it's only a preliminary number. It's not set until after board of review. But I would have had to do a calculation on what any of those reductions would be. I apologize, I don't have that number right now.
I will send you an email.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
I'll
Yes.
keep going. For the 5% wage increase, did the town conduct a wage survey of the region to come to that estimate? Or how did we arrive at that number?
So the town board had a lot of discussion on that about employee retention and recruitment was one of the major items. You're also recruiting employees. It's difficult to recruit and keep employees. So that was a consideration in the factor. Many of us are part of associations, myself for administrators, the clerk, the police chief. And so we do get those groups do salary studies and we do get that information that's funneled in. But I think, anyone on the town board could correct me, but I think it really was just a focus of that employee recruitment and retention, that we felt strongly about that investment in the workforce.
It was also based on numbers that we had gotten from the state as well as the federal government and also the county, what they had originally put in their budget and how they increment their wages every year. And over the years, we had not kept up with the surrounding municipalities. So we felt in order to keep our employees, we needed to keep up and we were falling behind. So we felt it was necessary, plus with the insurance costs that we were faced with, because we find ourselves in this vacuum that people south of us and people north of us, the insurance costs are different. So we have to be able to retain the employees that we have, and that's why we went with the 5%.
going. I just want to encourage an extra 2%. 7% is a really good number.
Thank you. Yeah. We appreciate the comment. Any other questions or comments? Did you want to? Yes, please. And I will give you, I'm going to hand over the mic just so everyone can, why don't you give the numbers again to Supervisor Cole if you'd like, the total, and what we're still working towards.
We are still collecting donations for the mural, but today people have been very generous, and I wanted to acknowledge those that have donated. So I'll just say who it is. Anonymous donation of $200, Mackenzie and Glenn Murray, $200, Kurt and Sue Culver Family Foundation, $1,000, Quick Trip, $1,000, Dr. Todd Dillman, $1,000, the Bell Family Charitable Foundation, $2,000, Nakusa Port Edward State Bank, $2,000, the town of, Visit Rome, Wisconsin, $5,000, Sand Valley Golf Resort, $5,000, and then there was $5,000 from the CDA budget put toward the mural. So thank you to everybody that did contribute. We'll continue to accept donations and continue to seek donations. We did seek some grants, and the Quick Trip, we did receive that money, but otherwise we did not get any other grants. So we're doing it through donations and appreciate your generosity. So thank you.
Thank you. So we'll close the hearing. Okay, we'll close the budget hearing and move on to the special town hearing. Discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 6, consideration of November 17th, 2022 budget hearing and special town meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second it. Okay, I gotta get one in. We have a motion by Wendy Newsom. We have a second by Jamie Gabert to accept the minutes of the November 17th, 2022 budget hearing and special town meeting. Is there any discussion? We'll take a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, authorize the appropriation of funds for civic and other functions pursuant to section 60.10 sub 3B of the Wisconsin statutes for Veterans Day and community donations.
Motion to approve?
Okay. Do you want to get another one in?
Sure, I'll second.
Already we have a motion by Will Beckstrom and a second by Jamie Gabert for the appropriation of funds for the civic and other functions pursuant to section 60.10 sub 3B of the Wisconsin statutes for the Veterans Day dinner or day and community donations. We'll take a voice vote. All those in, any discussion?
Do you just want to mention the event on Saturday?
Yes, I will. So for this year, Veterans Day celebration will be on Saturday, November 11th at 11 a.m., 11th day, 11th hour. Service at Spring Branch Cemetery, County Road D. And then at 12 p.m. there'll be a courtesy luncheon here at the Rome Town Hall for a sit-down turkey lunch. And then a performance by the Hometown Rome Players. So if you want to attend that, please RSVP to the Visit Rome by the 31st. Or you're supposed to.
They'll still take reservations.
Well, they will.
Yeah,
If you're still, yeah, they'll still take them if you're a veteran and a guest. And special thanks to our local American Legion chapters. So that's open to all Town of Rome resident veterans and a guest. So, yes. Yes, please.
So not related to our Veterans Day event here in the town of Rome, but it's from Wood County. The Wood County Veterans Memorial Ceremony will be held at Assumption High School on Friday at 10 a.m. So that's where they'll be dedicating the plaques that honor the veterans and the sheriffs that will be honored, those that were killed in the line of duty. They'll be honored at a ceremony on Friday the 10th at 10 a.m. up at Assumption.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure. Any other comments or discussion? All right, we'll take a voice vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 8, to establish official salaries for the terms of office to begin April 16th, 2024, pursuant to 60.32 of the Wisconsin statutes. We'll take A first for the 2 town board supervisors.
And Madam Chair, could I just share with everyone that the established salary for the 2 supervisors, what's in the budget is $5,500, and approving that would keep all of the supervisors, the 4 positions of supervisors, at the same $5,500 annually.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. We have a motion by Wendy Newsom and a second by Steve Scarberry for approval of the official salaries for the terms of office to begin April 16, 2024. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Now for the municipal judge. Do we have an established?
Yep, the established salary in the budget for the municipal judge position would be $4,800 annually. The town board did consider that position, that wage last year, and had made an increase to it last year, so it is established in the budget at $4,800.
I'll make the motion. To approve it.
Alrighty.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Wendy Newsom and a second by Nicole Menzel to establish the municipal judge's wages at $4,800 for office beginning, or terms of office beginning April 16th, 2024. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, to approve the 2023 town tax levy of $3,779,699 to be paid in 2024 pursuant to section 60.10 sub 1 sub A of the Wisconsin statutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the town tax levy of $3,779,699.
Second?
All right, we have a motion by citizen Diane Dolge, second by citizen William Beckstrom for the approval of the 2023 town tax levy of $3,779,699 to be paid in 2024 pursuant to section 60.10 sub 1 sub A. Any more discussion? Is everybody comfortable with a voice vote, or do you prefer to use a card?
Voice.
All right. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn!
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Will Beckstrom, second by Wendy Newsom to adjourn the meeting
Please return your cards.
at 6:40. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you. And have a blessed holiday season. No, we stay here.
You gotta cue it up. When it comes on my desk. I got enough to deal with without you causing trouble. What did I send you? You didn't send me anything. Other people have.
They started mentioning Christmas on TV, and I'm just like, don't say that.
I know. Oh, yeah. We can charge him a sign.
Oh, we got
No, I don't charge him. We're facing right over.